Joining us now is Representative Adam Kinzinger, one of the two Republicans serving on the House Select Committee. Congressman, great to have you here. Thank you.
Good to be with you. You bet.
We've been hearing so much, Congressman, about the Justice Department and how it potentially could be moving closer to an investigation, a targeting of former President Trump, possibly even an indictment. What do you know and what can you share about where that all stands?
Well, really, I don't know much more than you all. I mean, you know, in terms of what we're going to share with the DOJ back and forth, I guess I have a few more details maybe, but it's really just how do we work this where it doesn't hamper our investigation, but of course, we're giving the DOJ what they request. The bottom line, though, is they've been very tight-lipped on this, even with us. That's a good thing because we're not a committee that's going after, we can't go after the former president criminally, but I do think we've uncovered some very serious questions that DOJ has to look at and say, does this rise to an indictable level? I got to tell you, you know, either way, there's no good answers to this. I mean, either way, if you indict the former president, there's going to be, that's a precedent-setting thing. But I think the worst-case scenario, frankly, is if we as a country say, look, as long as you don't successfully do a coup, if you fail to succeed at a coup, then we're just going to let bygones be bygones, because that sets the floor. And in politics, when you set a floor for something, you never, ever, you know, rise above it again. You always try that level. So I think it's very concerning for this country if we let this go by, particularly if there's evidence.
Congressman, you said precedent's part of the calculation here potentially for the Justice Department, but should it be part of the calculation? What about just having evidence be the calculation?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's part of the calculation for the Justice Department. It is for me in thinking about this stuff, which is, you know, look, I mean, there's real concerns about what happens either way. I think the Justice Department and the Attorney General, I made this clear when he gave his really first interview on this a few days ago, and which is, look, nobody's above the law. And I think the Justice Department, justice has to be blind. That includes if you were a former president even. It has to look at the evidence and say, you know, did Donald Trump, for instance, specifically know that there was an effort afoot to change the will of the people, and was he part of that? Look, I got into this investigation kind of in the back of my head thinking, well, maybe the former president, you know, went along with it, but some other people drove this. I now fully believe in what we've discovered and, frankly, what we've presented in these hearings, that he knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to stay in power, and he tried a number of avenues to do that, culminating on January 6th, where for 3 hours he resisted a ton of peer pressure, which he's not very good at doing, to actually act. And he wanted to see what would happen before he realized that law enforcement had turned the tide of this, and then he gave mealy-mouth kind of responses. So, you know, look, it's up to DOJ, but I got to tell you, I firmly believe the former president knew what he was doing.
You mentioned something interesting, Congressman. You said you have some visibility into how the DOJ is engaging with this committee as a committee member. In your view, what do the DOJ's requests from the committee signal about the potential scope of their investigation?
Well, I don't know if I can pick scope out of that. I mean, you know, there's obviously interest in people we've talked to. That could, to me, indicate a narrow scope, or it could indicate building a broad scope. I think what's becoming clear, and again, I don't know anything beyond, frankly, what I've been able to actually see in the media with regards to DOJ, but that they are very serious about going into this now.